Everyone knows that telling stories helps us to understand the world and take really complex subjects, simplify them and help people understand them. And that's what we need to do when we try to explain complex things that software does to people that perhaps don't need to know all the detail. However, there's some common common myths. Shouldn't have chosen this topic. Common myth that that often people buy into, and they allow themselves to believe in these things, and then when they buy software, they can cause you harm. And the first one is, if it is good enough for them, then it must be good enough for us. Happens all the time. Company XYZ uses it, so it must be the right thing for us. Reality is, tech moves fast. Businesses are never the same. Myth number 2 is, this software can do everything you need for your business. It's the all-in-one, all singing, all dancing. It's the jack of all trades, master of none. And no one business can be run on one piece of software. Every company has 10, 15, 20, 30 pieces of software. You do need to look at how can you consolidate your SaaS tools, but it very rarely is by choosing one that can do it all. Myth 3 is that you can just go and buy integrations off the shelf. You often can when you get started, but as soon as you've got a quirk in your business, things don't work. A bit like if you try and do a pre-order model and you work with the standard 3PL integration, it's going to cause you pain. Myth 4 is that having an API is a box tick. What the hell is an API? An API is a way that is like the interface that allows one software to communicate with another, and depending on the type of API, it's easier or harder for software developers to code integrations between systems. So do the diligence on the API, and if you don't understand what one is, make sure you're working with someone who can look at the API documentation and tell you if it's good or not. And when they say what's good, ask them why is it good, what's bad, and how might it cause you a problem. Myth 5 is that raising money equals stability, and the reality is that raising money equals one day an acquisition or an exit. Sometimes it leads to IPO, but more often than not it leads to an acquisition or an exit. Sometimes this can be at the cost of the customer. Think about TradeGecko being acquired by QuickBooks. Put it in the bin. Absolute disaster. Great news for everybody else, but terrible if you were a happy TradeGecko customer. And I've worked with a few of them. Another example would be Inventory Planner being bought by Sage, got acquired by Sage. Prices have gone up. Prices have gone up to reflect an increased level of service, but what if you didn't want that level of service? On the flip side, what if you did? So you can win, you can lose, depending on who you are, but it pays to consider what the exit plan might be for the software vendor. And I always try and speak to the founder if I can and understand what their motivations are and where they see the business going. They will be frightfully honest with you if you really do take the time to understand them a little bit more and get into the detail. Myth 6 is we're just a simple business. We're just like everybody else. It's just not true. If you really believe you are the same as everybody else, you're missing all of the key capabilities, the strategic capabilities that your business needs to be able to deliver on, and tech needs to support you in doing. You must pinpoint the differences, your weirdness, whatever that may be, and think about how is it going to cause you pain down the line. What other commonly held beliefs do you find that people have that cause them pain? What other commonly held beliefs have you had that caused you pain? Would love to know some of the other examples of these software myths.